Let me see her.
It didn't load up. There it comes.
Hey, there we go.
Here we go. There it is.
Can you
Okay.
hear us, Michelle?
Hey, all right, now I can see you and everything.
There you go. Very
All right,
good.
thanks.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's March 21st, 2023 at 6 o'clock. Board member roll call, approval of agenda.
You gotta do the board member roll call first. And then the agenda follows. Cause you have to introduce everybody. That's the way we do it on the select board.
You call it out first.
Reading the whole,
Yeah, normally we do the board member roll call and then you do the rest of the agenda.
Okay.
you were just reading it, right, to us?
So Sarah, Fred,
Looked at it, so.
board member roll call.
Oh, Fred Miller, Stacy Boxer, Jim Winchester.
Megan Randall?
Brian Harris.
And John Bashy.
Michelle Peckrell?
Somewhere in there.
It's good
Okay.
that everybody gets.
Nice ceiling, Michelle.
Put a name to a face.
Thank you, I'm trying to cut my food.
Yeah, you do it. Okay, so then we're gonna go to approval of agenda. Then we'll have approval of minutes for February 21st of 2023. And then we'll have municipal planning grant review and discussion with BCRC. And then town plan review and discussion continued, and then public comment and adjourned.
I would like to make some changes to the agenda. I would like to postpone doing board restructure because the board terms run through the end of March. So it'll actually be our next meeting in April that we will need to reconstitute the board.
Okay.
Doing so now is actually premature.
Anybody
Also,
else?
I had emailed Hannah that I would like to address the Airbnb since Rebecca Dragon had sent a letter to all of us that hasn't been addressed.
Okay,
So we could add that in, say, right after approval of minutes, put that in there.
Could that be part of public comment?
Did you guys?
Well, I'm sure
yeah, we could put it as
there's probably people that don't want to sit.
no, we'll do it.
I'm sorry, Hannah was talking. I couldn't hear you.
I said there's probably people that don't want to sit and listen to our entire meeting, so maybe if we can address the Airbnb thing first and get it out of the way.
I
Then
think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right after approval of the minutes.
Yeah.
Like you said, John.
Okay, yeah, we can add that with, after approval of minutes. It was a letter by Rebecca. Is what you said it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we all got it. It's on our,
Yeah.
can we pull it up or?
It's a long letter.
Yeah, that was in the email.
Is it negative or positive or?
She does, yeah, well,
If you do add that to the agenda, I just recommend keeping that very brief and to the point. Just if you want to get into too much.
we have a lot to cover tonight.
Yeah.
You can definitely discuss it.
I would say we could mention it, read it if you choose, and then put it on the agenda for the next board.
That's a good idea.
Because it is gonna be worthy of a more in-depth discussion, so it's not something we're prepared to dive into tonight.
I can give you guys an update on it though.
Yeah, we'll just do an update, have you?
That'd be good.
Okay. So approval of agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda with changes.
Second. Okay. no problem.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fred, aye.
You go round robin because we had somebody online.
Stacy, aye.
Jim, I.
Michelle, I.
Megan, aye.
Brian, aye.
And John, aye. Approval of minutes for February 21st.
And the one before that as well.
We want to do that one too, or I was gonna put it on the next.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure that you realized that it
Yes,
was for
it was.
both, because there's only one listed.
Yeah, I just.
But Hannah had said in the email.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we didn't miss it.
Yeah, no, I told her we'll put it on the next one, because when I set this one up,
Okay.
Forgot to put, I forgot.
Why didn't we approve it last time? We didn't have a quorum?
Yes.
We didn't
Right,
have, we didn't have enough of the members that were present at that meeting here to vote on it.
We'll do that one on the next one. So I have a motion, or does everybody need some more time on that?
I don't. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 21st.
A second.
I believe I was not present for that meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you weren't, so you just
I
abstained.
wasn't.
Abstain.
I mean, you could motion in second, you just can't vote for it.
Right. I watched the video, but it's like,
It's not the same. You weren't present.
All in favor on it?
Aye. Stacy, aye.
Michelle, I.
Jim, aye.
Wait, was Michelle present? She was
Oh,
absent.
sorry, no, wasn't present. Abstain.
Look at that knife. Holy mackerel, girl.
Whoa.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
what you get for cutting her off, Megan. Or Megan, sorry.
Got my name.
Brian, I.
And John, aye.
Fred has to verbally say abstain.
I abstain. Fred abstain.
All right, moving on to the letter from Rebecca, and then give us an update on that. And we'll add this to, next meeting too. That'll be part of that.
So I don't know if all of you saw the letter from Rebecca. She sent out an email. Just had some concerns about the discussions that we had concerning short-term rentals. The select board hasn't made any really choices about that yet, whether they're gonna look into that or not. I do believe that once, a few things are off the agenda, that they will be looking into that. But until then, DRB and Planning Commission are gonna hold off on going any further researching into that.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know about our meeting because I didn't get the notification till morning of that meeting. But I listened to both the DRB and the Planning Commission meetings, and I don't believe that we have any business regulating them. They are already regulated through Airbnb, VRBO, and the obsession with the septic tanks was a little ridiculous. I do not know what the difference is between my septic tank failing and an Airbnb because it's a private residence. You know, if their septic fails, they fix it.
They have to.
They
because-
have to. I don't see where it's a burden on the town when they're bringing people in from out of town. And it's not like there's 50 people staying at an Airbnb. It's just people coming in, visiting for a few days and leaving. These are not long-term rentals. And I think people were looking for witches where there were not witches. And it was very disturbing.
Can I
Can I?
add to that?
Yeah. I'm just saying, Vermont law is that you have to check your septic before you sell a property because of something that happened not here.
I'm gonna hold off on the discussion on it,
Okay, that's how it's brought up.
because we're gonna have this discussion for next week, so.
Gotcha.
So we'll put it on,
That's fine.
it's gonna be on
Yeah,
for that.
I think it needs to be on our agenda. We need to discuss it.
We just wanted an update on this, and so we know it is coming up. So
Thanks
we
for
will
bringing
be
it.
discussing it then.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, everybody, good?
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to, municipal planning grant review and discussion with BCRC. And you guys wanna come up to the table here?
Just come up so we can hear you on the microphone.
Yeah.
So you can sit at the table or stand, your choice.
Mr. Winchester, I have an envelope for you.
Thank you very much. My beer wine license. Cigarettes, beer and wine.
All right, have a moment, I'd like to, can I distribute?
Yeah.
All right. This is an updated timeline. Again, by any way of introduction, I'm Jonathan Cooper, Scott Grimlyon, BCRC staff, and we Oh, it's a two-page thing. I got you. Thank you. And I can, pages, I guess I should give them out like this so much.
Anyone else? John, did you get one?
You guys got 2 pages?
I got one.
Two pages.
There are 2 pages. I think Fred split his and gave you one and kept the other.
Here's a whole.
You have both pages now, Fred?
Yeah.
Okay.
One starts with step X on the top and the other one starts with Pownell MPG on the top.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is our sort of second go around here. I think we met maybe a year ago or so to discuss this. This particular municipal planning grant had been awarded in a second round from the original application deadline. And so by the time we learned that this had been approved, we'd already sort of been booked up with other projects. So we needed to get those done so we could have time. What you see there is a revised timetable for this project that is still all within the grants, the grant activity period that runs through the end of October of 2023. So we won't need to file an extension. There's no additional work that needs to be done on the town's behalf. We just wanted to sort of recast the dates for those steps. We haven't altered the program at all in terms of what we'll be doing, what the purpose of the grant is. But we wanted to let you know, here's some new timetable and to get some dates on the calendar so we'd have to check in, touch base, and have some updates on our end for you. And then to talk a little bit about a couple of questions we had around how some of the tasks that were articulated in the grant application might sugar out, as I think some of the steps you'll see there, numbers 10, 11, 12, 13, describe both review from the planning board, the planning commission, and the select board. And we wanted to talk a little bit about how you imagined those steps working in tandem with the two entities, both the commission and the select board. The first comment to make was just that we would like to get onto your calendar for, I believe it's April 18th. We have our first sort of touch point. That's along step 4. To develop those, to sort of share with you the preliminary map of sites that we would have come up with based on the application and the program described therein. By way of a quick reminder, this was this grant application that was approved was an opportunity for us to sort of review some potential sites for industrial, commercial, mixed use and residential development within the town of Pownell. And not hewing to the existing plan and zoning bylaws, but rather seeing if there's any tweaks that need to be made where this has some value in line with the goals that were established in the 2019 town plan for having economic activity and housing activity in line with sort of as the actions that the town plan described. If there are any adjustments that might be recommended, that's also a part of this project, is to sort of say, here's some opportunities. We have a dialogue subsequently with landowners. And at the end of the process, if there are any potential modifications to some of the governing documents, that's something we discussed with the planning commission, but then you'll also see there in those action steps, also the select board. So Scott, I'm trying to just sort of do the overview. But I think one of our first questions was, is it okay to come back on the 18th of April to discuss that preliminary map? And then another question for the board, the commission to consider is what is the mechanism for working with the planning commission? Step 7 articulates working with the commission, and then subsequent steps articulate commission and select board. And would like to just sort of get your thoughts on how we would go about that. Sorry, Scott. I think
No.
That's all the fun.
That's,
Comprehensive.
I'm trying to be comprehensive. It's been a little while.
You've gone through all the things, and so basically we're the first thing we want to talk to you about is sort of, whether the schedule suits what you guys think is a good, rhythm for the way that you guys meet as a committee. And then, what our interactions are going to be. Because in the grant, we're talking, the words are very, kind of high level here, work with, the planning commission or, review with the planning commission and the select board. So we just want to get a sense to like what our expectations would be and sort of what the best workflow for us is going to be. So that way we get the best feedback from you. But everything is still all able to be done within, the calendar that's set for the grant period.
And, Michelle, sorry about our Zoom hygiene. I was table focused. I forgot.
Totally fine, no worries.
She's eating it.
Yeah,
I'm eating my dinner.
She got areas there.
Yeah.
There's a lot there, but, so yeah, your thoughts on that seventh step about, I think, working with the planning commission to revise, to get those 5 preferred sites. We'd like to know what you have in mind for is it coming back to a subsequent planning commission meeting? We were thinking sometime in July. Is it an additional work session?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of we built this kind of steering clear meeting in August. We feel like a lot of people are on vacation. Things don't really get done very well then, but we'll have time to do, on our own, some writing and stuff like that during that period. But overall, the big dates that are on here are April 18th, where we're going to come with a map. And that's going to be the sort of first discussion being like, here are the sites that we're looking at. And then basically looking at those, so 10% potential sites for each scenario.
Have you
So
found these 10 sites or this is something you're going to come to us?
this is something we're going to come to you
The specifics.
on April 18th with 10 sites for each scenario is what it says here. So, in the sites here, it also says, and there are 4 scenarios here, right? So there's an industrial scenario, a commercial scenario, a residential scenario, and a mixed use scenario. So, it's going to actually be 40 sites that we arrive with on April 18th then. Some may be co-located because, it's not like everything is going to be something that's good for residential use, may also be good for a mixed use. And depending upon the way that the commission determines and then the select board ultimately determines how to, revise the bylaws to allow these things is what's gonna pan out. So the main dates are, April 18th, we're thinking about coming to you then with that site. We'll have a more in-depth discussion and we'll have to have a decent amount of time set aside during this meeting for that. This is a much shorter conversation today. Something, again, a follow-up to that happening in the middle of July. July 18th right now is what we're thinking about based on your planning commission meetings calendar. And then getting to you, at the very beginning of September, the sort of draft written report, and then going through all the sort of comments and approval process, through September and October to then, wrap this whole thing up right around Halloween.
So are you envisioning all of the planning commission talking it through with you first? And then when you say wrap up, that would be your report that you would present to the select board? Is that how it works? Are we working in?
Well, part of that is a question that we want to have with you, because I'm not sure, what your sort of, local governance culture kind of is here, and the way that you guys, how much interaction there is between them. And, some of the steps as outlined, by the grant say that we have to engage both you and the select board. So, and some of that is just to review things, it may just be as simple as sending, the select board an update email every once in a while, and really going through the more in-depth detailed reviews with you. But if it's the kind of thing where you feel that, the select board should be brought more into the process, we're more than happy to include them as well. We just want to be able to understand that and then properly budget for our time and, schedule everything accordingly.
When I was looking at your schedule here, because I had that same question, Megan did. At what point and how often is the select board involved in this? And it looks like it's kind of late. I could see like September. So I think the way I took it, the planning commission is working more directly with you guys up until that point, independently. And.
Well, the select board may want updates sooner.
Updates.
Whether that comes directly from the BCRC or they expect an update from the
From the
PC.
planning, yeah.
I would expect, me personally, I would prefer to hear the update directly from BCRC with PC tagged on it. That way we hear it from the horse's mouth. You know, that way there's very little lost in translation, you know,
Yeah.
there's no spin being put on it.
Right.
My question would be for Hannah, though, for the April 18th meeting, that'll be our first meeting after March, so that'll be board reorganization, approval, or at the very least approval of the January minutes, these minutes, and we just said we were gonna put the short-term housing rental on that agenda. Is there anything else going on that day that you know of?
No, not for.
So we don't have a meeting in early
How-
April? I thought we had the first month.
Is there one before that? I know usually we try to meet like the
Third?
first Tuesday in
Yeah,
April, but
first.
I don't have anything showing up on my calendar yet, so I didn't know if for some reason like we had postponed that or
No,
something.
yeah, we can make it the first.
Okay.
Sometimes before that, we'll just do one meeting a month.
All right, then we'll do the short-term rental then, and then these gentlemen can still meet, or whatever representatives come down. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm out of town that day, but I should be able to at least call in.
Is that the 4th?
No, he's talking coming on the 18th.
So the
The 4th would end up being our short-term housing rental.
Okay.
One thought around select board touch points is that I think task, is it 8? Number 9, we're looking at mid-project reporting. So there's a section there which we were, perhaps in July, would be a chance to submit a sort of a progress report, an update of where things stand, and we can certainly be happy to share that directly with the select board. That can be something we present at a meeting. That can also just be a document that we issue that way. Any other touch points ahead of time are more than welcome. We're happy to do so. We also had anticipated, we sort of had ballparked October 12th with that draft reporting date to prepare draft report to the select board and planning commission. We were hoping that that week would, on the 10th, presuming that October 10th would be the planning commission, October 12th would be the select board, would have a chance to attend both those meetings. Presuming that the select board would need materials a week ahead of time to be in the select board packet. I'm not sure if that's, which would be October 5th, would have the documents.
Well, ideally earlier the better, that way it gives time to review.
And that's,
As long as it's not like the minimum 24 hours ahead of time and we're all scrambling to try to read it, you know, the morning of the meeting.
so we'd love to stay with that October 5th then target. So that way there's ample time ahead of the planning commission meeting on the 10th and the select board meeting on the 12th of October. So that we'd have a draft there that is supposed to be the final report, and then sort of backing up, mid-project reporting certainly would be an important select board touch points, and others that, you know, that the town wishes, we're more than welcome to, happy to accommodate.
All right, can you provide a copy of this calendar to Hannah? That way it's kind of on our radar going forward.
Happy to do so. And I can do that electronically if that'll be
I
any
can just take
easier.
this one and then scan it into my computer.
Whatever works for her and Tara.
All right.
Just want to make sure that we don't end up like, oh crap, we forgot that BCRC is supposed to be coming this week type deal.
No, in fair warning, it will get confusing because as of today, the town of Pownell was awarded another municipal planning grant for
Confusing it.
for the work to be done around recreational activities around the new town center and Center Street Park. So that's, which is very exciting. That will probably be Callie Fishburne, one of our colleagues at BCRC, who will be doing much of the work there. So you'll have 2 MPGs to keep track of, which is another reason for us to try to be as,
But that other one will be targeted more toward the Parks and Rec Committee, I believe. So you'll see me there too.
you guys are doing good work.
yeah, so anyhow, so that was also some good news to share. And, but anyhow, if we're feeling good about the 18th, I think we do have our tasks that we'll be taken care of in advance of that. And so we look forward to a really productive meeting on the 18th of April to go through a preliminary map and then really try to then sort of subsequently get a sense of how best we'd like to work together to refine that initial map, those findings, and to begin to flesh out the criteria as we have been charged to do here, and then hopefully to have something really robust for throughout the summer for us to refine.
Okay.
Is a copy of that map, can you have it sent to Hannah first before you come on that day, just so we can look over it too? We'll get it in our emails.
I would assume it'll be multiple maps because there's going to be 4 different versions.
Yeah, the layouts.
We try not to have one bananagrams map. We'll split it up. And, all right, so that's something that we'll issue, we'll get out probably the previous week. So there's some time to share. Last little bit of update now is that I'm your neighbor. I moved to Pownell in February, so I can't hide from you.
Welcome.
Oh, congratulations.
Where are you living?
On North Pownell Road, actually, half a mile away. It was 2240, the Peckham, next to the Peckham Farm.
I live next to the
Yes, it's her house, yeah.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I live right across the street.
Oh, do you? Yes, yeah. So need an update, you know where to find me.
My door?
It's only fitting, it's the old agency town.
With the white dogs? With the white dogs, no, I'm way up.
Oh, you're way up. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking that was.
The lovely flag that I sort of.
Yes.
All right. Oh, man. So, well, I just look forward to, seeing as we collect our mail. And,
Okay.
all right, anything else that I left out?
No, I mean, I guess, I just want to get a sense of sort of just a little more sense of the clarity then, because it seems like we're going to be definitely coming to, meetings here to mostly engage with you. If we need to do sort of email dissemination, that's all going to run through Hannah then, and she'll forward everything to the committee.
Yeah.
And then, when it comes to, when it comes to things like comments, and whatnot, do you guys all feel comfortable kind of doing, sort of replying to emails in that kind of way, or is it?
We have to be careful of violating open meeting law as far as responding back. As a group, we're only allowed to talk as a group as far as scheduling.
Okay.
We're not allowed to like give feedback on issues outside of meeting.
Which we keep forgetting.
Yes, which Hannah has been very kind to remind us constantly. But in the electronic age, it's really hard, really easy to forget.
Yeah.
But
You can send them to me and then I can.
yeah, if you have a question, send it to Hannah, then Hannah can forward it.
Okay.
So, other than that, does anybody else have any questions for these guys?
I'm not thinking of anything else.
I mean, because I'm eager to see what,
These problems.
yeah, I want to see what property ideas they come up with first, and then I'm gonna go from there as far as my questions go. Yeah, anything before that is just premature and speculation.
That's where I was going, getting at with, working independently of the select board at first.
Yeah.
to get-
Yeah, which I think is what
Hammer it out.
well, personally, that's what the select board, what I want is commissions and boards are free to like look at ideas and present ideas to the select board.
Yeah.
So this is one of those ones where the select board is freely like, yes, if you want to talk to them and try to flush something out,
Yep.
do it. That's kind of the PC's job.
Right, so we'll put a proposal together then.
Yeah, and then ultimately it'll be the select board's decision, but like, we can do all the legwork for them. That way they don't have to then, kind of do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
So there's a number of, in step 3, you'd mentioned sort of what is our sort of criteria going to be when we look at, properties in the area. And on step 3, it gives sort of a list in parentheses there of general things according to, best planning practices. And then we are also, going to be following as the guiding document, the existing town plan, to give us a sense as to what the general goals and, drive of the town is as reflected through the plan.
No, everything, I think that's a good start from it. The schedule don't look too bad either. I think
they're spacing it out plenty far enough to where
Yeah.
they're not trying to cram everything in and have it all done by like end of May.
Exactly, yeah, we're gonna take our time for sure.
Yeah, I personally would rather see us take our time and really flush this out rather than do something kind of half-cocked.
You were big down, the same land-wise.
In your description, your criteria, you mentioned among other criteria. Is that like open-ended, or is this the other criteria defined? That's not here.
I believe that we are giving the project a little bit of latitude. Those do not sort of exist on a different piece of paper that we didn't have room for there. But as Scott says, we'll be sort of working through the economic development goals, objectives, and actions in the town plan to start there and then try to refine that as we're going along. We don't yet have those all squared away. And I think that some of our, as we dig more into the analysis, that's sort of those first one or two tasks that may help us get a good feel for what are the ongoing dynamics that are happening both within the town and then around the town that could be relevant to understanding where there is relative growth potential or health in certain industries. And then that may give us a sense of refining some criteria that we have yet to determine. It's a vague answer, but at this point, we have yet to do that analysis. And so
Do you have an example of possible criteria?
There's a lot of examples. We get into it, we're gonna get into a can of
No,
worms
I'm
right
just,
now.
I just wondered.
So one thing that we may be paying attention to is, one of the quick examples would be employee dynamic, who lives where and works in some other place. So the thought is that here we are at a border of two states. And so where is, even, this is why I didn't want to get into it. It is that we know there's travel back and forth across the borders between the Albany metro area, Pittsfield, North Adams, et cetera, up into Bennington, Arlington, Manchester. And so we'll be looking at not just the town of Pownell there, but the sense of like what's coming through the town. The notion being that perhaps there could be some potential uses that might make sense that don't seem to, what's not present in the town at the moment, but there could be something that could rely on an existing employee pattern of flow, journey to work and home, that could be relevant to an existing
General
travel pattern.
Like a small idea, I would say it's like maybe somewhere to put like a coffee shop along 346.
Yeah.
From something somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, right now it is, yeah.
Yeah. The big idea is that we're not, that the exercise would lose all of its value if it were to be in some way cannibalizing other activity within town. Like and so the thought is, how can the municipality position itself with respect to these four scenarios, to grow based on how it can capitalize on what's happening around it. One of those sort of base principles of having confidence in potential demand. So we have yet to jump into that. We do have a bit of a tight timeline for April 18th, but we feel that we can hit that timetable and have a productive discussion, editing with you all and providing that information ahead of time so that it's not a cold turkey kind of meeting where you're just getting stuff at 6:15. That there's a few days in advance to think it through, and we can we can cover a lot of ground together, which we're looking forward to.
Sounds good.
You guys are gonna be throwing out half of our suggestions anyway.
Yeah.
So, not saying that we're gonna throw any rotten eggs in there, but, we expect that this is gonna be a process that's gonna obviously have a lot of editing and back and forth. Yeah,
Definitely.
And I know that's what I expect is like, I want the open communication and
Yeah, be more
We're
interested.
getting a fresh look here. We've been looking at this for 50, 60 years. And
so a fresh set of eyes.
see a fresh set of eyes.
Never helps.
Yeah.
It never hurts.
Never hurts.
So, all right, well,
that's effectively it, unless there's any other questions, yeah.
As long as you're good. I think.
Thanks for coming.
All right, I'm good.
Great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll see you on the 18th.
Thank you very much for your time.
And again, welcome to Pownell.
Yeah, that's true.
We hope you stay.
Did Jenny throw in the goats?
Just a sense.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll move on to town plan review and discussion. Continue that. We don't have to have a lot of discussion on it tonight.
I would almost say that based on what these two gentlemen just had to say, part of their timeline and criteria right there, the 10th item on it is,
Yeah, and.
it says right at the end of it, item that draft town plan amendments and review with planning commission and select board. That should say as needed.
As needed.
So I would say we really don't, I feel I don't want to say inappropriate, but I would say premature to discuss town plan review and discussion until we hear what the BCRC says.
I think we may be, as we're engaging in this project, we may be touching on whatever
Exactly, and
we would have touched by talking about.
yeah, and I think this would be, that would be better served by having the discussion with the BCRC, because they're gonna have more information and can help us do the legwork, be like, oh, you know, if we tweak this and, you know,
We may have to
accomplish
change the
something.
town plan in conjunction with what they come up with.
Yeah, well, it's right in their timeline that they're saying that draft town plan amendments, it really should say as needed. But I mean, even they're saying like, depending on what we come up with, it might be necessary to, you know, make some changes to the town plan and drafting, you know, existing bylaws, zoning regulations, like that kind of stuff, depending on the course, I would assume, depending on the course we wish to take to spur economic development. So that's my feel on it.
I agree. Pretty much right now.
I'm just saying, I don't think there's any need to get into a long drawn out discussion about town plan review at this time. Right. It's too premature.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's right, yeah.
Okay. Now we'll move on.
Public comment.
Public comment.
There's nobody in besides Michelle.
Well, we almost have, do we have enough
Well,
time to read?
we have time to come home too.
My supper's waiting. I was gonna,
Not Michelle, she already had hers.
we could read the Rebecca Dragon letter.
But I think, you know, we've read it and there's a lot to
Okay.
digest.
Okay,
And
let's read it.
whether we have a conversation of specifically about Airbnb,
You know what?
I'm leaning towards, we probably do have to have some kind of a conversation about rental housing in general.
So I would almost suggest, this is just my opinion, I would almost suggest we bring that up with the BCRC as far as the economic development. Because short-term rentals may end up going hand in hand with one of the ideas or visions that they help come up with.
That's right, because, you know, with the housing being pretty tight in Pownell, you might, you know,
Yeah. So
you might need the Airbnb more.
Airbnb is an actual entity.
I know, I keep
It's a future,
saying,
it's a
short-term rentals, I'm sorry, short-term rentals. That's the word I want to use.
At the select board meeting discussed rental inspections and I was reaching out to VLCT about that. So that's for like an actual rental home, like long-term rentals, you know? But for a short-term rental, I'm talking back and forth with VLCT on that too. So there's a lot of things.
Towns all over.
there's a lot of information.
In here, I think.
There's a lot of information to be gathered.
Personally, from my other experience working with the town, there's a need for some kind of a,
Regulation.
I don't know about regulation, but just a little bit of awareness of what is being rented out, what condition it's in, what the lease looks like, how the tenants are being treated, how the landlord is being treated.
You know, you're talking about long-term rental.
Oh, any, because a lot of them end up being short-term anyway.
Like, do you know about like the nice short-term rentals, you know, like we're seeing the ones on Airbnb.com, but that's not to say that, you know, somebody's not renting out a shack in their backyard for short-term.
And a lot of things like my, Google search might show up as an Airbnb who might not be a bona fide Airbnb. They might be advertising such to lure some, or to draw somebody in. but-
So when you talk about regulations, what was discussed? What was,
No, just a discussion was open like you're talking now.
yeah. So
And
nothing
you know,
specific in mind?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no, and it was really just opinions. I feel
yeah,
like.
just wasn't anything.
So Stacy, because Stacy had earlier mentioned that, what town was it?
Town of Peru
Peru.
came up with a regulation.
But the thing is,
That's
And
a,
they were requiring a registration, right, that you would pay, I mean, a fee, right?
I'm not sure if there was a fee involved.
I thought you said there was, okay.
Peru was on.
I think they were talking, Peru discussed like a registration fee from what.
Fee to register.
It's a
so we
one-time
did-
registration fee?
Yeah, we, as a select board, we had a very vigorous discussion, which I don't know if you watched our meeting about it.
yeah,
So, I mean, there was a lot of ideas thrown around and we asked Tara and Hannah to gather more information for us, reaching out to the VLCT, which Hannah just touched on. So, I mean, it is worthy of a longer discussion.
Yeah.
I just don't think any of us are prepared for that right now. Right now, it would just be all wild speculation.
I just want
And
to
I
say.
just don't want to see everybody
you know,
get tempers flared again.
Yeah, that's
For
what we-
nothing, because that's ultimately, that's all that's gonna happen.
If, I would say also if we're gonna, when are we meeting on this? Early April, right? Or,
Our first
Our next
meeting in
meeting
April.
is April 4th.
Yeah.
I think that some of the people that have Airbnbs should be invited to the meeting. They're
Come
the-
anyway.
So that would make it a public hearing almost. And
I don't know, they could do it
I
during
think-
public comment.
yeah, if they, I guess they could,
But
but,
if we invited them, it would be a public
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah,
um,
I think these are,
That promotes transparency. There's nothing wrong with that.
absolutely.
no, I know a lot of these people.
I'm not considered to have some
they're
little
good
cabal
business
here.
people.
where-
I'm not,
Secrets.
if I'm gonna be part of a commission, I wanna have conversations among the commission and answer any questions that, without getting bombarded with a whole bunch of feedback from all directions. Some people with who probably righteous anger or not.
I
But the thing
I
is-
don't think most of the people on this board, including myself, have enough information about what
Right.
short-term rentals are. So I think we need somebody that maybe knows a little bit more
Come
than
and
us.
teach us, or,
Because I also think this is getting to a slippery slope of telling people what they can do with their homes. Well, if that's the case, then the people with the junk need to get rid of their junk. So we're a town that does not like to tell people what to do with their private business, residence, whatever.
Let's,
I mean, people who go on Airbnb aren't looking for crap holes to stay in. They're
Right.
looking for nice places where people take care of their properties, they take care of their septic.
Where they're clean.
I would just,
They're clean.
Hold up. I'm gonna put this through instead of discussing it, so we're not trying to discuss it now. We're just gonna push it through. We're gonna
Yeah.
take it to April 4th.
I would say if anybody's curious, like, I just went right to Help Center on one particular site. And they have listed right on there, host reliability standards, guest standards. And they go through on what's expected as a host.
listen,
Cleanliness, health, safety, what's
These are-
expected at a turnover.
these are good people.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that at all.
No.
I don't doubt it at all.
I've talked to several of them. Listen, I've been in business here for 43 years here. I'm not anti-business and I'm not against these people. And I've stayed in a lot of A and Bs, okay? Around Maine, Spain, and most of them top notch. And these people, we know what they need. They need good water and good septic and they take care of it.
Yeah.
And we
And
did.
that's the owner's responsibility, unless they're.
There you go. No, but
unless
they've
they're
done
on
it.
Town septic or.
Yeah, but any business has to have it. And the Pownell's limited.
Well, I'm just, I'm not real comfortable with even having a discussion about a single entity, Airbnb. I would rather it was under a larger discussion about rental housing in general in this town. Because that needs,
Yeah.
including all, including boarding houses, which are regulated in our bylaws. So let's be fair and just include everybody under the same umbrella. And, if it's an entity that the state of Vermont has some nice arrangement
Well,
with,
the question, Fred,
let
was,
them have their arrangement.
the question was whether or not to include short-term rentals or whatever under the same umbrella you're talking about. And, whether or not to regulate them, have them pay fees, et cetera.
But not have a specifically titled discussion based on Airbnbs. Right.
Why? Why not? I mean.
Yeah.
Because the state owns that.
Right, and then you are labeling it, and then you are gonna make people upset.
Right.
So we don't wanna regulate.
Single out
You know
anybody.
what? This is a democracy. People get upset. We do not all agree, as you know. Here's your loyal opposition over here. So, if we're gonna avoid getting yelled at, well, then we shouldn't be on a commission.
I'm not.
What you label things as
Yeah,
well.
the short-term rentals are not governed under our bed and breakfast statute. They don't serve food. That's the difference between an Airbnb and a bed and breakfast.
And inns and bed and breakfasts are under
We're
their
not
own.
talking about bed and breakfast,
And you know, we don't want to,
We're not talking about bed and breakfast.
yeah, but she brought that up because
You were
it
talking
saying we should,
Okay, hold on. One at a time, one at a time.
Yeah, but you guys were just talking about the ordinance in the town laws and putting it under that. I mean, that was referred to in the other meetings that, oh, well, you know, we can consider short-term rentals bed and breakfast and, you know, they be ruled by that governance, but they're not, because bed and breakfast and short-term rentals are not the same thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the previous discussion was fueled by lack of knowledge and misunderstanding. So
yeah.
that's why I keep saying, like, we're not prepared to discuss this tonight.
That's good,
And
yeah.
doing so is just going to get tempers flared, which is the road
But
we're
the
headed on.
question was whether or not we invite some people who actually run short-term
We
rentals
bring in.
to come to the meeting or to
Well, they
come
can, they can
attend.
still come on.
yeah, they can
How are we
come
gonna
on,
be
but I
prepared on
don't
the
think legally planning commission can just have a public hearing. That would be something that you'd have to do through select board.
Oh, okay.
You know, if we got to that point, select board absolutely could have a public hearing.
So they'd have to come on as public comment.
Brian,
Correct.
how are we gonna be
Well,
prepared?
yeah, they could be at the meeting.
Anybody wants to get to be more prepared on the fourth?
So
I-
comment where they can.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's do one at a time. So Stacy just asked, how could we be prepared to discuss this on the 4th? My recommendation would be for each of us to do their own research. Like, took me 15 seconds to go to one of the popular websites, to go basically to their regulations and what their expectations are. And there's frequently asked questions sections. I would say each of us could read through that. If somebody wants to then take and submit that to the rest of us for information purposes only, not as a discussion, just like, hey, here, review this and we can discuss it at the meeting, then that's perfectly fine. And I don't want to ask Hannah to do any more work because I know she's pretty well overloaded now.
Yeah,
But I would say each of us on your own, go to the most popular websites that do that kind of business. See what their regulations are, what they have for expectations, if they do inspections, that kind of stuff. I mean, heck, maybe we can even try to arrange a phone call with a representative from the company or one of the companies. I'm not saying we have to, it's just a suggestion.
Or reaching out to other towns as well and see
Yeah.
what other towns do, because there are other towns that do regulate.
Yeah, because I remember at the last select board meeting, it was brought up that the VLCT, it pointed out that different towns are taking different approaches on it. Some are regulating it or trying to, some are completely hands off and they're leaving it to the state. So, right now, it's kind of the Wild West when it comes to it.
It is. I'm not sure that we need to collect a fee, but I think we should know who's out there in the town. As a matter of fact, they could even add, put a listing on our website and Facebook.
Well, then,
That'd be promoted.
though, you're linking private business, and if you're gonna link private business on the town website, you have to make that available for everybody. So that's where I would have the problem with that.
but
Can there be a paid page that maybe?
no, there's that,
Advertise?
what's it called, Pownell?
Is anybody grandfathered?
Yeah, and
That's some of these
it
dogs been
can't,
around a long time.
we don't mix the business with town stuff.
I remember, I know what one you're talking about, but for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it either.
Pownell,
There was a Pownell website where businesses, all the businesses in Pownell were listed out and they had like links to their individual
you know, that
websites.
guy with the guy,
But
Adam
I can't remember for the life of me. But as far as like, if you're curious to know how many are in Pownell, it's a Google search away. Like I just looked it up and there was 12 tonight. When I looked it up at the last meeting, there was like 28.
So it appears that the focus is gonna continue to be brought right down and narrowly focused on Airbnb.
It doesn't necessarily have to, but that kind of.
What I was trying to talk about is talking about all rental properties in Pownell.
that's a.
So I would like to have that discussion, but if we're gonna have that discussion, I hate to say it, but we kind of do have to draw a bit of a line. Like, are you talking long-term rentals versus short-term rentals? Or do you want to do an all-encompassing?
We need to learn all about all renting.
Well, hypothetically speaking, say we'd said, okay, every time a landlord goes to rent out their apartment to a new tenant, they have to have an inspection done. If you do that on long-term rentals where it's only once every couple of years, I'm not saying that's what we would do.
No,
I'm throwing out, I'm throwing out. an
Talk
example.
about
You
enforcement.
get into the trailer parks, you.
Yeah, so if you're changing out every couple of years, it's not a big deal, but if you're doing an Airbnb and they're changing out once a weekend and you're requiring an inspection every time you change residence, then that means you're now having to inspect
Well,
places
you
once
don't
a week.
inspect hotels on that basis, or?
No, but they fall under different regulations. But they are required to have sprinklers, fire escapes. Like they have a whole other set of regulations that are not required under bed and breakfast or.
I leave that up to their insurance companies, let them worry about it. If they
You
burn up their house and kill somebody,
Yeah,
pay the last drop of their blood, then it's on them.
I don't know.
Well, let's do this. Let's write up, whatever you guys have for ideas, like Brian was saying, just go on, Google search some stuff, put it together, find out what your thoughts are on it, where your position would be on it. And then on the 4th, we'll come back, we'll go over that letter again from Rebecca stuff, and we'll have that discussion. And you can, Fred will put in his ideas, anybody else has ideas, we'll put them in, and we'll have discussions on each one of them. And we'll see how that discussion goes. If it's something that's gonna go further, or if it's something that's gonna be pretty much dead at that point.
Can I just ask one question, Brian? So that the select board was looking into this already. So.
Only so far as like it was brought up because it was discussed at the DRB and the PC.
Oh, I see.
And when I told her to reach out to VLCT, they asked me to reach out regarding the long-term rentals. But they're gonna, I think, circle back to the short-term rentals when their plate isn't so full, right? Because right now there's a lot.
We have a lot on our plate right
You're
now.
talking the select board?
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, the PC is gonna have its hands full, I think, with the BCRC municipal planning grant stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
It's not.
we can't put too many irons in the fire all at the same time.
yeah. But by bringing it up, you did, as Michelle pointed out,
Well, I've heard from everybody.
raise some ire.
But we'll break it.
Find ways to leave it.
Okay. I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Michelle,
Pretty much all the time.
if we can make that meeting, that'd be great, so we can have.
Yes.
April 4th.
I'll be,
The table.
as I just went to look at the calendar, I was like, yes, I'll be back.
Okay, motion for adjournment,
I move
Yeah,
that
from-
we adjourn.
is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fred? Aye. Stacy, aye.
Michelle, I.
Aye. Jim's aye.
Megan, I.
Brian, aye.
And John's and I.
John's
Everybody have a good night.
Thanks. You
Good night,
too.
everyone.
Good seeing you, Michelle.
Bye,
See you
Michelle.
guys. I'll be able to come in person. Jimmy's out of town and I'm on chicken duty.
It was just one on the table. It wasn't mine.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.